Okay, this is solving systems of equations by elimination using multiplying first, then adding the two, adding or subtraction, however you want to think about it, adding the two equations together. Okay, now what do we mean by multiplying first? Well, yesterday we couldn't just add the two equations together, because what would happen, we wouldn't be able to eliminate one of the variables. Okay, that's the whole purpose for solving systems of equations by eliminations, because when we go to add them together, nothing eliminates. I would get 2x plus x is 3x, 3y minus y is 2y. Nothing eliminates. So what we did was we looked at this and said, well, we're going to have to multiply one of the equations by something first. Okay? Well, this one might be easier if we multiply, and again, this is where you have to use your brains, think ahead a couple of steps. Okay? Well, this is pretty close. I got a plus and a minus. If I add those together, I could eliminate that if there was a 3 in front of that y. So thinking about this, I'm going to multiply this whole equation by 3 before I add them together. That's why it says multiply first. All right. 3 times x gives me 3x. 3 times negative y gives me negative 3y equals 3 times negative 1 gives me negative 3. And then the top one, well, I'm not doing anything to the top one, so I'm just going to move it over or rewrite it. 2x plus 3y equals 13. Now when I go to add these together, what happens? Yep, the y's add up to 0. Okay, they eliminate. So I have 2x plus 3x is 5x, 10. 13 plus negative 3 is 10. Good. I have to solve for x, so I'm going to divide by the coefficient, 5. So x is going to equal 2. Well, I have x. I got to go back and figure out what y is, correct? So I'm going to choose an equation. I'm going to choose the original bottom one. So I'm going to choose x minus y equals negative 1. I know x is 2. I'm going to plug it in for x. So 2 minus y equals negative 1. Then I'm going to solve for y. Well, I'm going to subtract both sides by 2. So I have negative y equals negative 1 minus 2 is negative 3. And then I got to get rid of the negative signs. Just divide by negative 1. So y is going to equal 3. So my answer here is 2, 3. And then you were supposed to work on page 1 of the worksheet. That's all that this was multiplying one of the equations by a number and then add them up. And again, if you think ahead of time, think of a step or two ahead of a time, it'll save yourself a lot of writing. Like this one, well, 3 and 8, it's pretty hard to get a common product for the 3 and 8, but 7 is a factor of 14. So I can get rid of the y's relatively easy. I can multiply the bottom one by, careful, 2. I already have different signs, so I don't have to multiply by -2. 2 times 3x is 2 times -7y is minus 14y, which is what I was trying to get after, equals -15 times 2, -30. Not doing anything to the top one. Rewrite it exactly the way it is. -8x plus 14y equals 12. I know the 14s are going to add up to 0, or eliminate. -8x plus 6x, -2x. 12 plus -30, -18. Divide both sides by the coefficient, -2. So x equals 9. Okay, go back and pick one of the original equations. This one's really not going to matter which one. I'm going to pick the bottom one. 3x minus 7y equals -15. I have x. So I'm going to substitute in the value of x, which is 9. Now I solve for y. 3 times 9 is -7y equals -15. Subtract 27 from both sides. I never leave myself enough room. So I have -7y equals -15 minus 27, -42. Divide both sides by the coefficient, -7, and y is going to equal +6. So my answer here, my x is 9, my y is 6. That's the intersection of those two lines. You can do the other 9. I think I even put the answers on here too for you to check. Okay. Now, let's turn to page 2. Okay, you get to number 11, and it's like, well, Mr. D, how am I supposed to multiply one of those and eliminate? Well, the answer is you don't. You have to multiply both of them by a number. So I'm going to have to multiply the top one by a number and the bottom one by a number. You have to find a common factor. Well, I'm looking at the y's, and I know the factors at 10. 10 times 2 is what? 20. I know 4 can go into 20. So I'm going to use 2, but I'm going to multiply 2 by the bottom one to get 20, but the top one I'm going to have to multiply by not 2. What do I multiply 4 by to get 20? 5. Okay. I have both a last hour. Shoot. He told me he had lunch. All right. You know, we talked about this before. I completely forgot.
Okay.
My fault.
No, it's his fault.
Well, yeah, it says followed by, yeah.
All right, thank you.
All right, so I have the same sign, which means I'm going to have to make one of these a negative. I don't care which one you make negative. I'm going to make negative 2 negative just because it's a smaller number. No other reason. Okay, negative 2 times 3x, negative 6x, negative 2 times 10y, minus 20y, negative 2 times 11, negative 22. You got to be careful. Okay, 5 times 7x, 35x. 5 times 4y, here's my plus 20y. That's going to eliminate my y's. Equals 5 times negative 13. Question? Huh? $65, right? Yeah. Thank you. I thought you said 55. Add them together. Okay, 35x minus 6x, or plus a negative 6x. So positive 29x. These eliminate. Negative 65 plus negative 22, negative 87. Uh-oh. I'm going to have to resort to a calculator. Oh, it does. I thought it multiplied evenly. So x equals negative 3. There's my x. All right, I'm going to choose one of the original equations. 3x plus 10y equals 11. I know my x is negative 3. So 3 times negative 3 plus 10y equals 11. Solve for y. 3 times negative 3, 9 plus 10y equals 11. Subtract 9 from both sides. So I have 10y equals 2. Divide both sides by 10. And y is going to equal 2/10. Now, I want to reduce the fraction. Okay, or give me a decimal. Doesn't matter. Does everybody know how to reduce fractions on their calculator? Okay, so I have 2 divided by 10. There's my 2/10. Hit enter, gets you a decimal. Now you can use the decimal. Y equals 0.2. In this course, it's fine. If you want to go back to a fraction, hit the math key, okay, and then hit enter and enter again. And it gives me the reduced fraction. So either one is fine. 1/5 or 0.2. How? Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so 3 times negative 3, isn't that negative 9, not positive 9?
Yes, it is. I was wondering what. Yes, thank you. Thank you. I was wondering why we were getting a decimal. This should be a plus 9. Because this is negative 9. I think I even said negative 9, didn't I?
Good job, boy.
Thank you. Appreciate that, Dewey. Okay, so that should be 20, so y should equal 2. Thank you. That's why there was so much hesitation in my voice. I don't know if you picked it up. My answer, -3, 2. Now, you may be saying to yourself, well, trying to figure out what a common product that each one of these is a factor of drives me nuts. I can't, it makes the problem really hard. You don't have to find the lowest common product, okay? You could just, looking at like number 13, the x's are probably easier to get rid of, to eliminate, right? Because there's a plus sign and a minus sign for each one of the coefficients. Now, here's the thing, you really don't have to. You should use 6, but you don't really have to. Okay. Here's what you can do. The coefficients. I'm not going to worry about the minus sign because we want that minus sign. Okay. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to multiply the top one by this 3. And I'm going to multiply the bottom one by the 2. You're going to end up with bigger numbers on most problems. This one doesn't matter. But you don't have to think of, that extra step of, well, what number do they both go into? Just multiply one by the one coefficient and the other by the other coefficient. Make sure you have opposite signs, though. Let's see if I can do this without messing it up. Okay, 3 times 2x is what? 3 times -9y. -27y. 3 times 23. 69. 2 times -3x. -6x. Good, they're going to eliminate. 2 times -4. -8y. 2 times 18. 36. Add them together. The x's eliminate. -27 plus -8 is -35y. 69 plus 36 is 105. Divide both sides by -35. And y is going to equal -3. Go back and pick one. I don't like negatives. I'm going to take the top one. 2x minus 9. I have the y is -3. 23. Solve for x. 2x minus 9 times -3 is a plus 27. Subtract 27 from both sides. So I get 2x equals -4. So what's x equal? -2. So my answer, -2 is my x, -3 is my y. So either method works. If you want to find use the lowest number, you're going to have to find a common, the lowest product that these are factors for. If you want to do it the easy way, but you're going to be using larger numbers. Now this one doesn't matter which one, because they both have a plus and a minus. I'm just going to get rid of the y's. So I would multiply this top one by 7, and I would multiply the bottom one by 9. And work it out. I'm not going to do it because I'm tired of these. It's your turn. Besides, we're almost out of time, aren't we? Questions, comments, concerns? If you're feeling really bored over the long weekend you're going to have, we'll work on this. Otherwise, we'll work on it Monday.